Got it. All right, it is 5:45 on March 15th, 2023. And I'm going to call the meeting of the Katuitt Fire District's Board of Water Commissioners to order. Commissioner Robinson, Commissioner Horsley, Commissioner Hoppenstead are in attendance, as are some members of the public, as well as our water superintendent and office manager, Chris Wiseman and Jennifer Nash, respectively. Is there any public comment as we open the meeting? Okay, we'll come back to that if we have time. Commissioners, have you guys had time to review and approve the prior meeting minutes? Would you like to do that? Have you had time to look at those?
I have, and I'll move that we approve them as written.
Second.
Perfect. Motion's been made to approve the February 15th, 2023 regular meeting minutes and seconded. Any discussion at all? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So minutes are approved unanimously. All right, we have water quality report, superintendent's report next on the agenda. And I think that's going to have to be for the last month as well as this month, because we didn't get to it last month.
Correct. Hold on. Sorry about that. I don't know if you guys saw this here. This is from last month's sodium results. We didn't get to at the last meeting. We had them available there. Some went down, some stayed the same. Some have gone up. You know, it's bouncing right around that area. It's actually down a little lower than the one we did in October.
Commissioners, any questions on that?
We'll
Yeah,
do it
I mean,
again.
I think we've talked before that, you know, it's not really seasonal fluctuations in something like this. It's travel time from the source of the salt to the well. It's right. I mean, we may get a slug in the winter, but there are salts coming in from other sources too, right?
Correct.
I guess
Yeah.
my only question is, am I recalling that we tried to reach out to that, what is it, the name of the development, is it in Mashpee, right across the town line by our well 5? Because they were supposed to have a no salt agreement. I can't remember. We were going to reach out to them and just kind of check in with them. And then we were also going to check in with the town. And I think somebody did that. Is that right?
Yeah, I did. I talked to Dan Santos, and he turned me on to Rob Steen as the guy with the more info, and I haven't had a chance to get to him yet.
Yeah, and I also talked to the state highway division and their environmental arm of the highway division, and they, as I reported before, have low or reduced salt areas identified adjacent to our well fields for Route 28 and for Route 130.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we ever landed on anything with respect to your question, Scott, and that development that's just, it's probably within zone 2, right, Chris?
Correct.
Well,
Stafford Ponds, is that the right area?
Yeah, Stratford Ponds and Katuitt Meadows were who we were concerned about. And I'm not positive, but the last time we did this, I think they both came back with a low sodium in their agreement with the town originally. And when they start out, they're all supposed to be.
yeah, I don't know if we've ever followed up on that.
Well, I think this is my own opinion, Mr. Chairman. This is something we should keep on our agenda. Just to put this in perspective, I think I mentioned this before. I'm working for the town of Manchester by the Sea, and their sodium levels are at 150 milligrams per liter. So relative to that, we're doing pretty well. We are just above the secondary standard of 20, which is, an advisory level. It's not shut down the water supply. It's just to let people know that we have relatively high salt. So my own opinion is it's good that we talk about it, we look at it, we, keep the conversation going, but I don't see this as a critical issue. But I think it's something we should keep in front of us.
Yeah, good point. And we've included, we wrote that flyer, or I wrote a flyer on sodium, and I think it was distributed in bills
We did an email blast with it,
or an email blast. Okay.
and then we posted it, and
And it's posted on the website
it went in the Katuitt Currents as well.
and the Katuitt Currents. But the Stratford Ponds folks probably don't get any of that info. So it might be good to get something over to them.
I believe we did send something out to both the associations over there asking them to put out low or to no salting at all, and they both responded to us. I believe that's where I believe the information came from, that they are a low salt area.
Okay, so they did, we reached out and they responded. Yeah, I agree with Scott, though. I mean, we need to just keep this on the forefront of our minds, and particularly for those folks that are sensitive to sodium levels.
Correct, and we did say we were going to go to quarterly on this now. I
Yeah.
believe though next quarter actually starts next month, so we'll probably get some results, not next meeting, but for the following meeting. Usually is when they show up.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? Okay.
Okay, a
Great.
couple of things for water quality here while I still have it out. We didn't have either month any. Pardon me, I'm going through my notes here as I'm talking. We didn't have any bacteria hits in either month, all clean and negative. We did test our BOCs, our volatile organic compounds, and they were non-detect. They're from every station except for station 3, which had a very slight coliform detect, but that we get that actually every time we do it. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 of the stations, sometimes it's just one, sometimes it's not there. But it's a 0.85, so it's not even a 1 that's in there, and the MCL is 70 on coliform. So you have that. I was just looking.
So you're saying coliform or chloroform?
Chloroform, sorry.
Chloroform.
Yes.
Thanks,
Thank
Jen.
Yep.
Thanks, Jen. I had put last month's report in my file here, but I have a feeling that I might have stuck it down on the side. So I can't give you the pumpage, the exact numbers, but I do know that it was a little over $1 million less, like a 1,100,000 less for for January this year than it was of last year.
I can find it.
What's that?
I'll be able to find it. Just need a minute. But go ahead, I'll give it after.
Yeah, and in February, I do have February's figures here. In February of 2022, we pumped 6,995,000 gallons of water. In February of 2023, 6,709,000 gallons water, for 286,000 less this year. Believe it or not, in 2022, there was 4.5 inches of rain. And in 2023, in February, we only had 2 inches of rain in February. It seemed like it was going to be a lot larger because we seem to have a lot of rainy days, but maybe that's more, there were just smaller storms. We did still pump less this year than last year. It seems to have been a continuing flow over at least the winter. We did not have any, I kind of went over this at the very end of the meeting. I'll go over it real quick from last month. We didn't have any new services or replacement services in January. We were waiting on our BFDs still, waiting on the new truck still. I was informing you then that we were going to be flushing this month. And that's all I had on the general discussion under the January report.
Here's the numbers for January. So 2023 was 6,503,000. And 2022 was 6,995,000.
Right, so about 100, I think it's 1,100,000 difference, basically, and some change there.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. 6,503,000 and 7,694,000. I'm like, why is that number the same?
That's what I just read, right?
7,694 for a decrease of 1,191,000.
Right.
Well, it's good to see that at least our year-round residents are maybe listening to our pleas to conserve water. And
Yes.
we see decreases in the winter months. Unfortunately, it's the 5 months starting in May or 6 months starting in May that end up draining the aquifer and pushing us up against our permit.
Yeah, our levels are going up every month right now. I also had in there that we were out of drought altogether. We didn't even have a minor drought going on. Level 1 was pulled last month. All right.
Yeah, that's good. I was down at Lovell's Pond the other day. I noticed that the boat ramps finally submerged.
Yes, the level indicator there is underwater again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can actually read it. Yeah.
General discussion for this month. We did have one new service put in and one replacement service in February. One new one over on Raylan Road and a replacement service over on School Street. I heard today that the VFDs have arrived and the gentleman will be delivering them tomorrow. And we'll start scheduling after that on replacing or installing those in the stations. The truck is at the outfitters, which basically they're putting on the body, the plow. They had estimated that I would have it back at the middle of this month. We're at basically the middle of the month and I haven't heard from them again. So I'm pretty sure it's coming soon. We are starting to flush this month. We just haven't done it yet with people taking vacation, and we got some other things going on. We're just having a little trouble getting started. JR is the one who's going to be heading that again this year and taking out, I believe, John to help him out a little bit, give him a little bit of the ropes on it. And the last thing I had under general discussion was that signed a couple contracts with Viola Industries, I guess it is. They just bought utility services, then have utility services bought back from them. But it's for the tank cleaning, the inside, for having them drained, cleaned out and chemically cleaned and put back in line. So not this month, but I believe it's May that we're going to be doing it. We had to push it off. The guys had some problem with people coming back after being laid off, and they had to push it back. And I didn't want it to be consecutive because we'll be flushing then. So it kind of helps us out a little. At least we'll have some clean water to fill it with that area, so we're not filling it with dirty water or anything like that. The other thing
Do they do the outside of tanks at all?
they do, but they charge about $17,000 to do it.
Yeah.
So, and I know that you guys have been pretty stern that you really don't want to do it for that much and have it just come right back like it did last time. It is actually the same company that did the cleaning last time. It's just under different ownership, the same people, I should say. They've sold 3 times in the last 2 years.
Wow. Well, I had a conversation with one of the commissioners from COMM, and they're going through the same problems. They just have to constantly pay to have the exteriors cleaned, so that they're not eyesores, and they like myself anyways, see those as kind of what what the consumers see as the flag for the department. So I don't know what we're gonna do about it, but in my mind, it should be something that we address. It's not gonna get any better. And I know it may require painting, which is gonna be more than the $16,000 or $17,000. But again, it's not gonna get any better by itself. And when I was at Levels, I looked up at that Santua tank, and from the north, it's pretty much black on that side.
Yeah, and it's growing higher, which is something
Yeah.
that I'm not really sure how that's happening. I don't know if it's, that's the way the wind's coming from or what, or the sun's hitting that last, but it seems to be coming, if you look on West Street there, it's getting higher towards the school area. Yeah, and I'm not sure if that's, I guess that would be the northern side of it. Yeah.
Yeah, on both tanks.
Well, I think, Mr. Chairman, I was one of the first advocates for having the cleaning done a year ago or 2, was it now? And,
Yeah, I was there. I was raising that flag too.
because I agree with you. It's, I wanted to find out whether it was a structural issue or just aesthetics. I think we found it was really just aesthetics, but it's an important aesthetic. I think we paid $16,000. It lasted less than a year. And I think that money is better put into a painting fund. Painting is going to be $1 million job someday, isn't it?
If that, yeah, maybe more.
Yeah.
Everything goes up with time right now. I'm shocked at how much people are getting to do things now and how much stuff is.
But cleaning it twice a year, $32,000, $40,000 a year to clean the tanks every year. It's going to add up to a nice $1 million that you could repaint the whole thing with.
When they're here, I'll ask their suggestions.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Looking at it, well, I have them in there, and looking around and climbing up to do everything. I'll say to them, hey, take a look and see what, you can do, and suggestions would be.
Yeah, if we keep deferring the cleaning of it for long enough and then can afford some painting, maybe we paint them black or dark green,
We'll have nice warm water coming through the spigots.
right?
Oh.
Speaking of which, just on the side, I was talking to an electric contractor that does large scale electric lines, and if they lay electric lines next to water pipes that are coming from these wind farms, the water temperature goes up. You don't get any cold water. So keep that in mind if they decide to bring something in at Loop Beach.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The other thing on here is Jen has it up now. It's our latest PFAS stuff that came out yesterday, where EPA is doing a study right now, or trying to get I think it's going to take like a year or more to 3 years to get this into effect. But these are what they want for regulations. It's a little something for you guys to read, give you a little more information on how they want to structure everything with going on with PFAS. They do mention in here a little bit about the UCMR testing that I had mentioned a few months back, that I had got a letter saying that when January came, they were going to send between January of 2023 and December of 2023, I would get some notice that I would have to do some UCMR testing that would be paid for through EPA. And I think it was the 15th of January, I was at the office and FedEx showed up with 5 boxes of bottles and sample bottles that came in. And the next day I got an email from EPA saying, you should be seeing some bottles shortly to do the testing. So apparently when they said anywhere from January to December, they meant January. They didn't give me any prior notice that it was coming. It just showed up and then they notified me afterwards that it was coming. So we did go out and do some testing. I believe Matt and I did that the beginning of the month.
March 6th.
What's that?
I think it was the 6th, March
Yeah.
6th.
We went out and did all the testing that we had to do with it and sent it all back to EPA. We'll be waiting the results on that, which will help with this here. It sounds to me, reading this, that we can use those UCMR testing for the PFAS here instead of them asking us to do any more.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, as you guys know, Massachusetts has its own standards, and they paid for us to do some testings. Now this is EPA trying to trigger the rest of the country into it with more stringent, I will say.
Nice summary article in today's Wall Street Journal. 2 articles actually on the testing and the EPA proposals. And
Nice.
I'm sure they got a lot of it right out of this document that you guys have posted here. Thank you.
And
Wasn't
look,
the,
Mark, I was just gonna say, look, there's more requirements for the CCR.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't the broader picture here, though, that I doubt any water supplier is going to meet a 4 part per trillion standard, and so we're all going to have to do treatment. Isn't that the bigger picture?
It looks like it, yes. It's going to be hard, and I really don't know when or how someone's going to be able to do it. They have to be in the deep woods of Maine, maybe. I don't know.
Chris, were our samples in excess of 4 parts per trillion when we tested last year?
We had a well, I'll have to go back and look one more time, but we did get it combined up to like a 6.9 or something like that. But that was a combined. It wasn't at, and I don't know if these samples are combined or per station. So there was like a 2.1 at one station, a 2.3 at another station, and a 2. I think it was a 2.2 at another station. That's whatever it was that combined together that made that 6.9 that we had. So that's how we had to send in the results. It was a combined parts per trillion.
So it's not an average, it's a combination.
Right.
That's weird.
Yeah.
That seems odd to me. How does it go up? I mean, you're adding volume of water when you add the water from each pumping station.
It was a 4 point. This was from one station, a 6.5. That was, I think that was station 1.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a 2.1 there, 6.5. So yeah, it did go as high as a 9.3 at one. So yeah,
So it's all station 1 that's
yeah.
getting the big hits. Was that the first one that you guys did? And maybe you were wearing some latex gloves that were full of
It's funny because the test results that we have from the first test wasn't that bad. I mean, the 5.9, but the second time we went out here, it was January, we had a 9.3, which was shocking to me that we weren't pumping a lot of water then. So maybe it wasn't getting diluted more. I'm not really sure. It's a little worrisome with doing the tests, this early and everything else, but that's when they wanted it done. Maybe they looked at Massachusetts results and said, this is when they get the highest, this is the best time to do it.
Huh. That's interesting. But if we could go to the, if we could utilize the other wells as for excess water for pumping, you know, and dilute that that's coming from station one, I think that's what Barnstable's doing, right? They're pooling their data and it's dropping the,
That's what, yeah, Yarmouth was doing that with Hyannis for the longest time, and they were buying
Yeah.
water from Calm to dilute it. It's something that you can do out there to bring it down, as long as your tests out in the mains as down lower from doing combining, it could work.
do you
Yeah, I
have
mean-
those tests? Do you have the tank test for the PFAS from that or no?
No, it takes, I mean, I don't even have, you know, I don't, well, I do have the 7 something there. What, if Jen, can you pop that up one more time if you still have it there? And go to the complete bottom.
That's from July.
7/20/22 was the last time we tested. I'll have to go back and look and see when, I know we have some coming up. I believe it's next month that we have it. So we'll have to see how quick they can get the results back to us on those. And I believe it's only 2 stations they're asking me to do. Station 1 and Station 4, because they're the only ones that had any detections.
I think 2 had some in the spring there, if you go up a little bit, or in January.
Yep. And they didn't even ask me to do any
They
kind of
all had
testing.
it in January.
Yeah, except for 5, yeah. They've only asked, they've looked at their results and they said what they wanted for us to test. And I believe it's 1 and 4. Maybe it's because that's at the highest levels.
Yeah.
So Tom, I guess I would just offer that if you blend the water here, which is what we were talking about before, it looks like we can almost, and again, these numbers we're looking at here is for total PFAS, all of them together. Correct,
Yes.
Chris? This is not the
Correct.
individual. So it is possible that the individual chemicals are less than this, but in any case, it appears that we could blend and still meet the standards. And I think it strikes me interesting that you know, well number 1 is one of the areas we're looking at trying to do the source water protection work and replace some of the septics, which personally I think is probably the most likely source in our watershed. So I'm feeling like we're on the right track here, and we might save a whole bunch of money by doing source water protection as opposed to treatment. We might be one of the lucky, maybe it's not luck, maybe it's foresight, one of the minority of water suppliers that doesn't have to treat because we're doing good source water protection. So I'm still optimistic that there might be some potential there.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, and this is the PFAS 6, so that might be the PFOA, I mean, the PFAS, that's the 4, the only 2 that are the 4, might not be here, you know, the PFOA and the PFAS that are the 4.0 might only be 3.0 or something like that right now, and that the combination's coming from the other 3.
Well, I guess we stay tuned.
4, excuse me, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
fascinating. It's great. And I agree with Scott that I think the source water protection is what we need to really emphasize here. And I'm glad that we're heading down that road.
Correct. Yes. Just a quick, you guys have asked me to give a little bit of an update on what's going on with the different associations out there a little and who's doing what right now. New England Water Works is doing a lot on the PFAS here with their newsletter every month, coming out with alerts. Came out with this right after it happened. I heard from this last night around 4 o'clock that when they released all the information and everything else. So we had this last night. Jen Peterson over there at Mass Waterworks makes sure that she sends out stuff right away. New England Waterworks is doing a lot of classes and stuff like that coming up. I'm going to a conference next month at Worcester, excuse me, at the Centrum or whatever it is now, the DCU Center. And there'll be classes on that, if I remember correctly. There's a couple classes on PFAS, there's multiple classes all throughout the whole stuff. And I did go on a Zoom call or Zoom meeting with Barnstable County, and we were discussing the conflicting reports we've been getting on the lead service line inventory, and how EPA is saying that a gooseneck does not count towards the service line, but Massachusetts is saying it definitely does. So you have to put it in there. So it's, there's some people are hearing you don't have to, some people you are. So we kind of all got together and just discussed who's doing what, and if they have. We seem to have a lot more paperwork than anybody, with the backups, with our service cards, tie cards, and every service that goes in town. We always put a tie card together on, so we know what's in there in the ground, where a lot of people don't. And if they don't, they have to assume that it's lead. So they have to put in, unknown, so they consider it lead, and this is what we're going to have to get done. But we did discuss, and one company is spending, I think they said $42,000 to have their town done, and it's like a little over 10,000 accounts or something like that. It's not a huge town, and there was some people that were just shocked at how much money they were paying to have it done. But they said, we got to get it done.
Matt and I started today, we got through about 20 accounts. But I mean, we are starting with, account number 1. So the oldest stuff in town, and tracking how many times services have been replaced and what materials have been removed, or.
Yep.
So we're starting with the hard ones.
It's great. Job well done. Both of you, all of you.
And that's my report. Any questions?
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thanks for the update on the other organizations too.
Commissioner Horsley, any questions on Chris's stuff?
No questions at all. Well done, Chris.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Great job. Very well done. All right, we'll move into old business. Source water protection. And that's from Scott Horsley, test wells. And then I can add to that too for the third item on the old business is the town of Barnstable access to source water. So Scott, do you have any news?
Oh, very brief, Tom. I did speak with Tom Cambereri last week, I think it was, just to find out where we're at. I think he's still waiting on, and Chris, you probably know more than I do, on some confirmation with surveying and assistance from the town. Also, I know he reached out to Darcy at the Concom, and I think might be waiting for permission on those wells. So he's, I think he's waiting on other people at this point, but hopefully we'll be moving ahead soon with the well installations. Chris, do you know more than that?
Yeah, I talked to Tom today and yesterday, and probably the day before. But the town, Shane Brenner, the town surveyor, went out and marked the boundaries out on Mariner Circle for us. And it looks like there's enough room there that we can get away from the water main enough to put the well in. I will tell you, adding the other well over on Newtown Road and the well that's there, Desmond has gone up about $5,000 from the original estimate that they had. So it's going to be a little more money to have it done. Yeah. And I think the original estimate was like 2,500 or something like that. They're up over 7,000, I think now, around about a little over 7,000 to do the two of them. So we'll be over budget in that 20,000 appropriation that we did, but we'll have money left in engineering to take out for the sole source stuff. So,
Chris, did they give a reason why it went up that much?
I think it's the level. They weren't. I think they have to add a little bit more there. That's a little deeper. And the second well, we didn't think about too much. There's a lot. Yeah, there's a couple places. There's a couple things there where it's a little harder to get to. Also, they gotta, remove some brush and set up where they set up. They're gonna have to cut a few limbs to get to and everything else.
So it's two wells we got for the $7,000?
Correct. Correct, a little over, yeah.
Okay. Well, I
Yeah.
would recommend that we still go ahead with it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I talked to Darcy and Tom Camerari and myself both sent her over some documents, and she's given us administrative approval to go ahead and do the well installations in the bed of the Little River as reference sites. And then she recommended that we reach out to David Anthony, which I did. And he has got a license agreement, which is attached in this packet. I also sent it to you guys, but he had sent it to you all as well a couple of weeks ago. So I do have some concerns with that. I'm not sure, how we want to address this, if we want to send it over to legal before we do anything with it, or if it even has to go over to legal, or if it should be something that Sole Source LLC deals with rather than the commission or the department. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to look at this, but I was a little concerned about it naming the commission as signatories rather than the water department or Tom Camerari as our consultant. And then I've also got a concern about they want us to carry some liability insurance with $1 million riders on it. So I don't know if we can do that,
Tom, is this for the purpose of the drilling?
Yes. To access the land there.
Huh. It's to
And
access the town land.
Yep. So there's a license agreement. It starts on page, I think 9 in there, and I did send it over to you guys too in emails. Just don't know if you've had a chance to look at it, but it's going to slow things down a little bit, at least for locating those test wells.
So I did look at it, and it reads very closely to other licenses I've seen. The insurance thing, I mean, we have insurance. I don't know why that wouldn't cover something like this. I mean, don't we have insurance? We have to have insurance for the staff doing stuff, working with machines and whatnot.
Right. Yeah. Would that pertain to this work that the consultant's doing?
Well, he's an agent of our department.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe it's just we kick it over to Mark Boudreau for his impressions. It's section 11 on the contract. And it's looking for $1 million for any one accident, 2 million on all accounts for all accidents, on account for all accidents.
I would think the
I
driller.
don't know if we have that. Fran, is Fran still here? No.
She is, but she's muted.
Hi, I'm still here. I would suggest contacting our insurance people that we already have. You can do that, contact Ray or Lisa. And
And then ask them to contact the insurance folks before we
Yeah.
send it to Mark.
yeah, the district insurance, yeah.
Also, I'm pretty sure Tom Desmond has insurance as well. So
Yeah,
I understand that the largest building in every city is an insurance building, and I think I understand why that is. So I'm all for spending more money and making these buildings larger, but it seems a little crazy to me. Seems like Tom should be covered for this.
Yeah, we may just need a rider on our policy. And that's, would be a lot less expensive.
All right, Chris, do you want to take care of that, or Jen? Getting that over to our insurance providers to see if we have to do any kind of a rider or if we're covered.
Sure, I can send this to
Given the
Ray.
content of this contract, so you'd get the contract over to them.
Sure.
Now, Tom did start to fill this out and sent it to me, so I have to look at that again. He was trying to do it with his with the doc that was in redlining stuff and adding in different things. So, but this insurance is a little concerning. Do we want to run it by council first at all, do you think? Or do you think that's not advisable?
Well, if we're already covered, then we don't really need to pay for him to look at it, to
Okay,
put eyes on it. And I would assume that our insurance providers could tell us that.
all right. We'll do a combined effort and get to somebody, let you know a little more.
Yeah, and talk to, coordinate with Tom Camberry. I know you guys do a great job with that. And tell him we're working on it. And Darcy's approval is administrative. She had no problem with it at all.
Now, I believe this was for the Little River 3/4-inch wells, not the Desmond drilling. I don't know
Yeah.
if this is both.
No, it's just for the little 1/4 inch in the bed of the Little River that we
Yep.
need for reference
Okay.
points. So they're hand dug, right?
Hand driven,
And,
yeah.
and there was some concern. I had some concern too that David put into the contract that everything be removed after a year. And I think we would kind of like to have it there longer than a year.
Yeah, I believe Tom addressed that with him and just said, it has a beneficial to leave. It's beneficial to a lot more than just us to leave them there.
Yeah, okay.
And once they're in, they're not creating any additional
All right.
problems. So-
Correct.
I mean, they're it's just an inert thing.
Yeah. So hopefully it's just some wrinkles that need to be ironed out. And I think the insurance provider would be a good place to start.
Sounds right.
We'll get it done.
Hey, Tom, before we leave this subject, if I may, I guess I have a question, and it may be good that Fran's here for this. If we complete this work with Tom, let's say over the next 3 months, and we verify the flow directions, the next step in our program is to approach some homeowners and try to negotiate some deals installing some of these alternative septics. And I know for the last 2 years, we've requested budget items to cover the first round of this. So I guess my question is, if Tom completes the work over the next 3 months and we're ready to go, is that money accessible so we can start the program? And maybe that's a question for anybody, but I don't know where we stand. I know it went into the budget at least twice. I know it went in last year and it went in this year. I think we added it again, right? As a request. So how does that work? How do we, if we want to proceed with this, in that we have already requested it, and I think it was accepted into the budget, where do we go from here if we want to move ahead with the program?
I believe this was in our 5-year plan, not in the budget.
Okay.
So we did not put any in for innovative septic in fiscal year 23. We are going to put in an appropriation for 120,000 in fiscal year 24. So that would start after July 1st, if it's approved by the district.
So that money, the 120,000 would be available July 1st, 2023.
Correct.
Okay, and so to get that in there, that has to be accepted at the district meeting, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, so we've requested it, and if the budget gets adopted in, when is it, June or July?
Gets
Then
voted on in May, becomes effective July 1st.
Okay, then that money will be available to proceed. Okay, Fran, you see you have your hand up. You want to?
Yeah, I have a question. Your you're talking about doing work on private septic systems, is that correct?
Yes.
I think you need to check and to make sure that that's permissible, that you can do that. You know, it might require a change to your legislation, your enabling legislation, to do spend tax dollars on private wells, private septic systems.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons that we're proposing the new water quality stabilization fund. Would be to help offset that or to pay for those activities on private lands and septic systems within our zone twos.
Well, do we do any, when we connect a new house to a service, are we doing any work on private land?
That's different. That's part of your enabling legislation. Doing work on a septic system, I don't believe is part of your enabling legislation. And I suspect you probably have to have that changed in order to be able to, you know, do that.
I wonder how specific the enabling legislation is. Oftentimes it's written broadly, but we can check it.
It still doesn't, I don't believe it says anything about septic systems.
It may not say anything about connections to homes either. Might be, my point is it might be pretty broad. Let's look at it.
I'll get a
It
copy of that. out,
May
Kevin.
not specify all the things that were the specifics that we do with connecting a house. But it's a good point, Fran. We should look at it. My experience with enabling legislation is written broadly, but
Right, but it definitely does not cover you doing anything with septic systems.
you're saying it doesn't expressly say septic systems. Is that what
It
you're saying?
doesn't, that's not your job as a water department.
I would debate that.
Well, you would debate that, but, you know,
I do debate that.
you know,
I think it's not the work on the septic system, it's the being in charge of water quality in the wells that we're responsible for. And if this is identified through our study as a major contributing factor, I think that's the connection.
but you want to spend tax dollars on it. You want to spend taxpayers' money on it.
On improving water quality, absolutely. It's a great idea.
Yes, that's right.
Of course we
but
do. Why wouldn't
I'm
we?
just saying, you need to make sure that you have the authority to do that.
I agree with you.
We
I'm
have
not
to look
aware,
into that.
are any other water companies doing a similar thing to private septic systems?
I don't know. I hope we would be the first, but maybe not. Maybe we'll be second.
Yeah,
But
I think that's
I do
something
think
that we
it's in
need to
our
look
purview.
into. I would want to make a clarification that it would not be necessarily taxpayer money. It would be ratepayer money. So it would be money that people buy water with that comes back to the water department
Same,
for
you know,
maintaining the water supply. And because of that, the enabling legislation may very well be broad enough to encompass.
Yeah, I think Fran's suggestion is a good one, but I don't think any of us should conclude anything before we look at it. Fran, maybe you've done the research. Have you?
no, I haven't done any research, but you know,
Oh,
I
I
understand
think
that
we can do it then. Let's do it. I think it's a good suggestion you have.
you know,
Yeah,
Let's not conclude anything before we do the research, right?
I mean, you know, our legislation had to be changed in order to give quote grants to the library. So if you're giving grants to people, you know, I think it needs to be spelled out.
I think,
I think it's a good suggestion. Again, I just don't want to, it sounds like none of us, including you, Fran, have done the research that you're suggesting. So I'm going to second your motion. Let's do the research. Great idea.
and that research would be getting something over to Mark Boudreau, I would say. So
Yeah,
we
make sure
do
there's
have,
make
do
sure
have
there's nothing
funds.
in here that precludes us from doing that. It's an excellent idea.
We do have funds for legal consultations. And I think there's ample amount of money in there. I know we have, that line is combined with engineering. So we want to make
Correct.
sure that we don't impact that engineering work that we're doing as a precursor to this. but I also wanted to get the Water Quality Stabilization Fund proposed bylaw over to Mark for his consideration, because, you know, if we, the way I read chapter 41, section 69B, is we cannot make money over and above what the water department spends, not what the district spends, what the water department spends. So that's why that stabilization fund is being proposed, so that monies from water revenue could go into a fund that could be used for something of this nature. So perhaps we can get those two things, those two questions over to Attorney Boudreau for his consideration.
That can be done.
Does that make sense?
By Mark and tell him that we have a couple questions.
Yeah, and we'll send him over a copy of the draft
Yep.
stabilization fund, and then just ask him about, you know, if we do set this thing up, can we use these monies or any monies from the district on, for that matter, any money from the district on private land with the intent to preserve water quality for the Katuitt Water District?
Correct.
Yeah, it's a good question. We should get the answer to it.
Okay. Anything else on that at this point? Commissioners? I see Jennifer Loughran is with us, and I know she has some experience. I don't want to put you in a hot seat, Jen, but you guys are doing work on private lands with nonprofit money.
Correct. Yeah. So there's a big difference of how we accomplished it to what's being defined here. So I think where you folks have landed right now on checking what your authority is the correct mode.
Yep.
But you know, once you get the direction, the guidance that you need, then it, as Scott has been suggesting, you get your wells in and then you go from there. Then you do the community outreach stuff.
Great. Nice to hear. I think we're on track. We just need to make sure we take our time.
And that you have the authority to do it.
Yes. Good point. Thank you for that comment, Fran. I think that was important that we get to that. So if there's no further discussion on the source water protection, that also addresses the water quality stabilization fund item on our agenda, which I simply wanted to take the draft and send it over to Mark Boudreau for his review and see if we actually are on the right page with respect to where water revenue goes, and if we could and should be putting that money towards the water department and the water district's maintenance of water and water quality. And that then would get us to the fourth item under old business, which is the affordable access to drinking water.
Yeah, so a couple of things. First of all, the bylaw committee has finally decided when it's going to meet, which is March 22nd. That's 5:30, I guess. And so, Tom, if you want me and you to present the water stabilization fund bylaw to them, that would be a week from tonight.
Do you think we should wait until we get feedback from Attorney Boudreau?
Yeah, I suppose so. Knowing the bylaw committee, they'll want to have everything answered. So presumably they have more time to meet before the district meeting, if necessary. In terms of the affordable access guideline, regulation, policy, whatever we want to call it, I have been invited to address the Katuitt Civic Association at Tuesday, April 18th at 7:30. So I'll have more information about that in April. But that would be a chance for people to learn about it and make comments and questions. And I hope more of the commissioners will come as well.
We'll have to be informed if more commissioners go, I believe, to post it.
Right.
Post it anyway.
We're not gonna be making any decisions or deliberating on it at all.
No, I mean, it would be just, listen to the conversation, I think.
Yeah. I mean, if you think we should post it as a public meeting, we could certainly do that, but
I
I don't
already
know
have.
if it's necessary. What's that?
I already have. I've posted it with the town and I've posted it on our webpage.
Okay, yeah. I'll try to be there for sure, Mark.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Not on that. I do have a copy of the enabling legislation. I don't know if it's had amendments since then, but I'll send that around to the group in terms of the powers and duties of the commission. We should have that in our handbook, shouldn't we?
I Googled it. It came right up on our page. Tom, I have an addition to that, and Jen also has her hand up.
Yes. Love to hear from both of you.
I would just add in the back of the packet, Chris and I went to a class yesterday hosted by both Mass Rural Waterworks Association and the South Shore Community Action Council, where the water department can be listed as a vendor with South Shore CAC. And those that are eligible for fuel assistance are also now eligible to have assistance with their water bill. They will pay, depending on eligibility, they will pay up to $1,500 of what they call a bill in arrear. And if it is more than 1 day old, it is in arrears, because they made a change to that provision, because a lot of water departments will turn your water off if you are in arrears, and they didn't want their recipients to be in that kind of situation. So with your approval, I would like to send the contract back to South Shore Community Action Committee to agree to be a vendor, so that if there are any qualified residents in our district, they could get assistance with their water bill. There's no downside for us. We upload a copy of the bill, or at least the amount of the bill, into their dedicated portal. They do have to be approved for fuel assistance by May 12th of this year, and the benefit ends in September, unless it is adopted again by the federal government in the budget for the next year.
I believe this is all ARPA funds right now that were available, isn't it? Yes.
This just sounds like a win-win for everybody. This, do we need a motion on this? I would think.
I'd like to see a motion that I can sign for you guys, basically, as this, so you guys don't have to come in, or you can come in, I guess, and sign it if you want. I just wanted to get it to them as quick as we could. Probably need a motion to accept it also.
All right, commissioners, can we have a motion?
I learned a little bit about this. I'll move that we accept it. Wait for a second.
Motion's been made that we accept the, I can't see it there,
Sorry.
low-income household water assistance programs. What do we call this?
It's
Proposed
a vendor
assistance
contract.
Contract. Oh, contract. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm just unclear as to what we're accepting here. That's why I'm pausing. Could somebody explain that just a little bit more?
So in order to, there's two things that have to happen for somebody to receive funds from South Shore Community Action Council through the government program for fuel assistance, which helps them with their household energy needs. And they have now included the water bills under that umbrella. The first part is that the applicant has to qualify, and I think it's over or under 125% of the poverty level, decides what their benefit would be. The agency would qualify them. We have nothing to do with qualifying people for their program at all. But in order for South Shore Community Action Council to submit to the Katuitt Water Department a payment on behalf of one of their recipients, we have to be registered as a vendor in their system. And in order to be registered as a vendor in their system, we have to sign this vendor agreement that says, we'll comply with their laws, we'll abide by their terms and conditions. The amendments are really to the effective dates of the usage period. We have to say if the homeowner who receives this benefit were to pass away, we would return the funds. So basically, this is just an agreement to say that we will be a vendor to South Shore Community Action Council to receive money from them on behalf of their qualified recipients.
Does that help, Scott?
Yeah, that helps. I have no problem with it. I just want to make sure I understand it, but it sounds like it's, so it sounds like we're just enabling this to happen. Is that right? There's no,
You
demands.
need to second the motion.
Second, right. I'm sorry. Second the motion. Thank you.
So a motion's been made and seconded that we provide Chris the authority to sign a contract agreement with the South Shore Community Action Council to become a vendor so that we can support any of our consumers that meet their low income standards.
Very
Does
good.
that sound?
Yep.
Yeah, I learned a little bit about this when I went on the Zoom that Janet turned me on to previously this fall, and I know it's a program that's in wide use throughout the state, but it has to operate through these nonprofit social service organizations, and so that's why the South Shore Council is involved in it. They're coordinating it on behalf of different regions. So it's a pretty standard thing, and particularly people, in the cities that were represented there were very positive about it all.
Other questions, comments?
I just want to make a quick comment. This also affects senior citizens that, only take in so much money from Social Security and everything else. They can get this assistance through it. It helps them tremendously also, which we do have a lot of into it.
And just one final question for me. What is it, again, remind me, what does assistance go to pay for?
Water bills.
Their
Okay,
water bill.
okay. Gotcha. All right, I'm fine. No further questions.
Okay, motion was made and seconded that we allow Chris to sign a contract with South Shore Community Action Council to become, so that the Katuitt Water Department can become a vendor to their program. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Jen. That's great. And Chris and Jennifer Laughlin.
Yeah, well, and I'm sorry, I never know if public comment can be added in any time during these meetings, but on the heels of Mark's presentation about his meeting on April 18th at Freedom Hall, I'll let you know, and Jen can partner with me on this. The Katuah Federated Churches Community Hall now welcomes people to have meetings. And if you haven't visited our new hall yet, it's worth doing so. So in any capacity that you're in, whether it's by your commissioner's role or as a teacher or anything in the public community, that the hall's ready if you want to be able to rent space for large meetings.
Thank you.
It's
Thank you.
beautiful.
Thank you. Okay.
And did I understand that the technology is coming April 1st with the camera and the
Yeah.
speakers on the screen?
Yeah, I think it's April 1st, and yeah, you're gonna have everything you possibly would need, and we have a beautiful new kitchen. So it's worth just coming down and visit, so you know what the capacity and the capabilities are.
Great. Appreciate that. One last item under old business is the FY 2024 budget finalization and the 5-year capital improvement plan. Do we have any additions since we last met? Budget of the cap?
I'd like to just address, last month or the month before, I actually talked to you about replacing a water main.
Yeah.
Or 2 or 3. I did get some pricing. It was a lot higher than I thought it was gonna be.
It's everything.
Exactly. To replace the water main on Truman and half of Roosevelt and on Lewis Pond Road between Highland Ave and Old Oyster Road, the little triangle there, it came in at $550,000.
Wow.
That's a lot of money to replace, but that's because everybody's so busy and the price of stock is out of the ballpark. It's ridiculous how much pipe is costing right now. I don't know if it's going to go down. I don't know if this is the best we're going to see for a while. I asked for a price just to replace the 2-inch line on Lewis Pond Road, which I feel is a little more important because we're talking about fire protection there and servicing the houses that are there right now that are onto it. And that was 175 around. I don't have perfect numbers, but those are the quotes that I got. And that would take care of that and would give us a better ballpark of what it might cost to do more. So I don't know if you guys want to put anything in under water main replacement for this year, but it would be nice to get that going. We're not asking for a ton this year. With
So you're talking 175 or 500?
175. I mean, this would be up to you guys. Do you guys want to go for the 550, replace everything at once? Or do you want to start out and do the the Lewis Pond Road and go from there and see how it works out and how much we actually use of the 175 or if it goes over? Because right now bidding, you could get 50 different bids there now, but I don't know if everybody's got the sharpest pencils in the world right now. It's really volatile out there.
Well, I don't think the price is going to go down. But it might. Right.
I think we should put at least the first amount of this in there, Chris. Should we round it up to 200,000, given things are only going one direction?
I would think that would be smart, for unforeseen charges and unforeseen things, yes. And that would be, engineering costs and installation. It'd be, like something to bolt, soup to bolt. I can't remember what the saying is, but that would be
To
all.
nuts.
Thank you. Soup to nuts.
Nuts. Yeah, I think 200,000 there and maybe then add you know, the other 300,000 or 400,000, whatever it would be for the Roosevelt and Truman sections, to the capital improvement plan for FY 25 and 26.
Yeah,
Does that sound like a good plan to you?
it does, because there's different parts in town that are old, that are, we've got a couple cracks in. And even replacing, there's a 6-inch section from Route 28 up to Newtown Road, almost to Mariner Circle there, that's pretty old. I think it's an original main. We could pop it up to an 8-inch main, so we're not going from, 8 to 6 to 8 and causing a little Venturi effect there, which speeds up the water and causes dirty water at times. These little things that we could do to bring things up throughout the next, 5 to 10 years would be nice. Even if it is just a bunch of little projects, to have the money there and not specifically in our article state one road. Put it in as water main projects, so that if there is a balance there, we could put it to the next year and ask for a little less if we have to, or get 2 jobs done instead of 1. I'd like to advise that if we could. I don't know if it can be that broad, but that'd be something I'd have to ask Ray.
Yeah, that makes sense to me, Chris. Can we put that in, Jen, into the budget for next year and then put it in the capital improvement plan
I
for
will.
subsequent years?
Yes, I will take care of that. This is a PDF, so I can't edit it, but I will.
That's fine.
Disappointed.
I could pull it up on our data site.
I know, I'm just kidding.
And then I included a copy of the operating and maintenance budget with all of the adjustments that we talked about at last month's meeting, so that you could see the final impact at the end. Oops. I was doing so good. There we go. That was the bottom line.
All right, this is your opportunity, commissioners.
Yeah, looks good.
I mean, I think we did pretty well on it at our last meeting. And we're gonna change the water mains in there as well as in the CIP.
That's
This
a
is-
continuing, that's a good,
This
that's,
is
that,
maintenance.
yeah. That's a maintenance. For
Oh,
what we-
okay.
yeah.
So would that be a separate article?
Yes.
Correct. That would have to be a separate article that we put in for the 200,000.
Yep. And I like your idea to try to keep it general for water mains, because we've got some water main problems.
Yes.
Are you gentlemen good with that?
Do you want a motion? Yeah.
Sure.
I move that we approve the budget as presented here with the changes made to the water main capital plan.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded that we approve the budget as presented here with changes to the water main budget lines in the capital improvement plan and a water main article to be submitted for this coming fiscal year 2024. Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion is unanimous, passed unanimously. Anything else? Old business, new business. I asked Jen to include that annual report letter that I had circulated for the clerk. And he's got that. If we want to make changes to it, I'm sure I don't think he's gone to press yet, but I'm not sure about that, but I would imagine that we could still have time. My Zoom account is being signed in on another device, so I might lose you guys because I don't have a Zoom account anymore, so.
So far, you're still here.
Are you guys all good with the annual report letter? And
I did not have a chance to read that. I promised I would, and I just couldn't get to it last week. So I will look at it before the weekend.
yeah, take a look at it, and if we need to get to Charlie at some point, I'm sure the sooner the better, right? And I'm gonna have to, I think I'm gonna have to get off of this because
Okay,
this is my wife's account.
good
So,
time to leave.
if you guys could handle the matters not anticipated by the chair, additional public comment, and set the Board of Water Commission meeting date, that would be great. I gotta say, sayonara.
Any issues in April, Tom? April 19th?
That's great with me.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Yep,
Scott.
yep.
So Mark, that'll be the night after your meeting with the Civic Association,
Right.
and we will be in person at Freedom Hall.
Fran had mentioned at the last meeting that they might be putting in the owl system or something at Freedom Hall. Do you know if that's been put in, or what's the timeline on it? You're still on mute. Yeah, there you go.
No, it hasn't been put in yet.
Okay. Do you have a timeline at all on it?
I'll have to check with Lisa. She was gonna order it.
Okay. I'm just wondering if it might be ready by then to try it at the time. We'll need some training on it before, if it does go in and everything.
Yeah.
Are there any other items to be brought before the group? We've set a meeting date. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion's carried. The meeting is adjourned at 7:03.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much, guys.
Thank you all.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks, Jen.
Good night, all.